So, you know, when you're watching Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon or reading the books, I hope, and the king or queen, as it may be, gets referred to with their long ass list of titles, and the Rhoynar is amongst them. They get referred to as king or queen of the Andals, the Rhoynar, the first men, lord of the seven kingdoms, and protector of the realm of Westeros. Well, today we're going to look at who are the Rhoynar? Who are these Rhoynish people? They come from the Rhoyne. Well, what is the Rhoyne? We're going to look at all of that today. So let's get into it. The Rhoyne is one of the main rivers of the eastern continent, Essos. The Rhoyne originates from the confluence of its two tributaries, the Upper Rhoyne and the Little Rhoyne, southeast of the ruins of Goyandro in northwestern Essos. Its course runs southwest and meets Noy, just north of Nysar. The Rhoyne continues southeast to Dagger Lake, where it is joined by the Coin. After Dagger Lake, the Rhoyne runs south, with the Golden Fields along its western bank. The Rhoyne continues south, with the Larulu flowing into it at the Sorrows and the Selharu connecting at Selhores. It is said that the southern Rhoyne becomes so wide that someone in its centre cannot see its shores. The Velena reaches the Rhoyne just north of Volantis. A giant delta forms at its mouth, upon which Volantis sits along the summer sea. Settlements and ruins along the Rhoyne include Nysar, Croyan, Solhoris, Valisar, Sarmel, Volontheris, and Volantis. Places on tributaries include Goyandro on the Little Rhoyne, Cohor and Ornoy on the Coin, and Norvos on the Noin. Appearance. The Rhoynar were a slender people with smooth olive skin, black hair and dark eyes. Some maesters have controversially theorized that the people of Myr are related to the Rhoynar because of their similar olive skin. Their culture. The Rhoynar practiced a number of customs that differ from mainstream Andal culture. These included equal primogeniture, granting inheritances to the eldest child, regardless of gender. They also tolerated homosexuality. Due to their origin in city-states, the Rhoynar titled their rulers princes and princesses. Their influence made these customs standard in Dorne as well. Art and music flourished in the ancient cities of the Rhoynar. They were by and large a peaceful people, but were fiercely independent and could be formidable when roused to wrath. The Rhoynar worshipped a number of river-themed nature gods. Their primary god was the Mother Rhoyne, or Mother River, the personification of the River Rhoyne itself. Other gods included the Old Man of the River, a turtle god, and his adversary, the Crab King. Legend has it that the Rhoynar had their own magic, a water magic very different from the sorceries of Valyria, which were woven of blood and fire. It was said that the Mother Rhoyne herself whispered to her children of every threat, that the Rhoynar princes wielded strange, uncanny powers, and that their cities were protected by watery walls that would rise to drown any foe. The Rhoynish Wars. After defeating the Giscari Empire in the east 5,000 years ago, Valyrian adventurers and merchants gradually kept expanding further and further westward, where they were welcomed at first by the Rhoynar, who were not a bloodthirsty people and did not desire conflict, even though they were strong warriors who fiercely defended their homes when attacked. Volantis was the first and greatest of these Valyrian colony cities. Over the centuries, however, competition over local resource and trade inevitably led to conflict between them. These wars and skirmishes started out very gradually. The first clash was known as the First Turtle War and lasted less than a month. The subsequent Rhoynish Wars were a 250-year period of persuasive on and off skirmishes and flare-ups into outright warfare. Many of these were localized and inconclusive, but the Valyrians tended to win more than they lost. Specific conflicts in this time period included the War of Three Princes, the Second Turtle War, the Fisherman's War, the Salt War, the Third Turtle War, the War on Dagger Lake, and the First Spice War. Among many others, the final phase of the Rhoynish Wars was a massive conflict known as the Second Spice War. In the last of these, Garin the Great, Prince of Corian, led 250,000 Rhoynar to their death in battle against the Valyrians. Nymeria, Princess of Nysar, led the surviving Rhoynar, mostly women and children, in fleeing Essos in 10,000 ships. During and after the Rhoynar evacuation, the Valyrians destroyed the great cities from the Rhoynish realm. Their massive ruins are still easily observed from the Rhoyne. During the First Turtle War, the Rhoynar emerged victorious over the Valyrians when their water wizards called up the power of the River Rhoyne and proceeded to flood Volon Theris. If the tales can be believed, half of the city was washed away. In the Second Spice War, the Rhoynish Prince Garin raised an army 250,000 strong to fight the Volantines and Valyrians. So long as the army remained beside the Mother Rhoyne, the prince declared, they need not fear the dragons of Valyria. Their own water wizards would protect them from their fires. In the battle at Volon Theris, the water wizards raised enormous water spouts against the Valyrians' 3 dragons, and the Rhoyne flooded the city. The Valyrians returned with 300 dragons, destroyed the Rhoynar army, captured Garin, and destroyed his city, Corian. The captive prince called down a curse, and that night, the Rhoyne flooded out of season, with greater force than known in living memory. A fog fell upon the city, and the Valyrian conquerors began to die of grayscale. To this day, the ruins of Corian and that part of the River Rhoyne are known as the Sorrows, where the stone men live and travellers can still be infected with grayscale. Princess Nymeria had been called a witch queen, though it is not true that she practiced water magic herself. But when she brought her people to Dorne, it is said that the Rhoynish water witches knew secret spells that make dry streams flow again and deserts bloom. The Rhoynar in Dorne. Nymeria led her followers on dangerous journeys to the Basilisk Isles, Sothorius, Nath, the Summer Isles, the Stepstones, and finally, Dorne in southern Westeros. Nymeria wed Lord Mors Martell in Dorne, forming House Nymeris Martell. Their new seat, Sunspear, was named after the spear of the Martells and the son of the Rhoyne. Under the rule of House Nymeris Martell of Sunspear, the Rhoynar have lived and intermingled with the native Dornish since that time. Having abandoned the Rhoyne, most Rhoynar adopted the faith of the Seven in Westeros. In The Conquest of Dorne, King Daeron Targaryen I differentiated between 3 sorts of Dornishmen, the so-called stony, sandy, and saltish Dornishmen. The salty Dornishmen are held to have had the most Rhoynish blood, being dark-haired, olive-skinned, and living close to the shore. The salty Dornishmen no longer speak the language of the ancient Rhoynar, although they do speak the common tongue with a distinctive drawl. Unlike the rest of the Seven Kingdoms, equal primogeniture is practiced in Dorne as it was along the Rhoyne. Some descendants of the Rhoynar did not assimilate and continue to practice the traditions of their ancestors. However, they are called the Orphans of the Greenblood, and these individuals live on rafts along the River Greenblood and consider themselves orphaned from their mother Rhoyne. They are of pure Rhoynar blood and still speak the Rhoynish language in secret. During the Century of Blood after the Doom of Valyria, Norvos and Cahor used fire galleys at Dagger Lake to end Volantine control over the northern Rhoyne. The Rhoyne south of the Sorrows is still patrolled by volunteer galleys, while the headwaters of the Rhoyne are dominated by Great Norvos, and Cahor controls the river north of Arnoy. Timber from the forest of Cahor is shipped downriver, since the cities and towns of the southern Rhoyne have depleted many of their forests. The waters between Arnoy and the Sorrows have been left to pirates. In a 1993 early draft version of the map of Westeros, the Rhoyne wasn't a river in Essos, it was a little island down by the Reach. I'm glad he made it the river in Essos though, because it sounds more rivery, the Rhoyne. River isn't a word, I know. Anyway, and if you're wondering why I named my channel Alex of the Rhoynar, it's because, well, one, my name is Alex, but two, I like the water magic side of it. I like this magical river, and I like that these people were peaceful people, you know, progressive. They had beautiful cities as well. And so, yeah, that's where the name came from. What do you like about the Rhoynar? Do you call Essos Essos or Essos? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any other video suggestions. Just typey in the comments. And have a good day. See you next time. Cheerio.